said he'd wait for me.
Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with New York City Jazz Singer Naama on the new 2023 album Where Flamingos Fly. This Israeli-born artist continues to rise up the charts. On her new LP, she delivers an honest and intimate album featuring vibraphonist Steve Nelson. This is the vocalist's third release consisting of 12 tracks, 6 of which feature a collaboration with Nelson. She and the band transport listeners to a corner booth at a cozy, dimly lit club, flashing the chemistry she's built over long-running residencies at Mezzrow and Smalls in the West Village. A longtime friend of Neon Jazz, it's always a joy to catch up with her to see how well things are going, and they are going very well. Enjoy.
I was very, very excited to see the new music. I am, at my core, I love the vibes. So whenever the vibes get thrown in, it just brightens everything a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree, though. So cool.
So we've been in touch. The first time that we spoke, and we've talked about this before, was when the pandemic started back, and I believe it was March or April of 2020. And now we are in a very vastly different landscape. You've released a couple of albums, and you've had projects that have happened. You've dropped your last name. Lots of things have happened. So talk to me about where we're at right now prior to getting full on into this new album.
Yeah, so we're, like you said, I think we spoke once after Dearly Beloved, which was, I was like recovering from COVID, and we had no idea what we were talking about and what we were facing. Then, I guess 2 years later, was it 2 years? Almost. Yeah, I think it was 2 years later, 2022, the beginning of the year was when I started releasing singles from my now released EP, which was called If I Knew Then. So we talked about that. We kind of reflected on the pandemic. And I actually was self-releasing that album, so I did not know what to expect in terms of, how it was going to do. And it did pretty well. Towards I think it was the 5th single that I released. It got on some Spotify playlists, which was awesome. And I've performed with it, with this music around the city, outside of New York, and then also in Europe. And it's been getting great, feedback. People like it, I think. So it's been really fun. And now, well, not now, I'm trying to do my best to keep it rolling as long as I can, with more music and more projects. So the last recording that I did was I think it was July 2022. And we're now starting to release singles from that release, and it's going to come out officially, this one's an LP, it's 12 songs. It's going to come out officially in July of this year as well. So for singles, though, is dropping in February. So that's where we're at now. And now it's kind of funny with recording, because you kind of record something and then you realize that people aren't going to hear it until months ahead. So it's weird in terms of doing the music. I did it before. I did a lot of the newer stuff before recording it. And then I stopped because I was focusing on If I Knew Then, because that was being released. And now I'm going to go back to performing my new stuff, in preparation for the releases. So I guess that's where we're at. Is that a good answer?
Yeah, it is. It's a great answer. And I think that's the strange thing, is that when artists do talk about, new material, they've already moved on to the next one. But
exactly.
But I think there's a part of this process that slows down a bit when you release the singles. It kind of elongates the process. But ultimately, the album is Where Flamingos Fly. Let's talk a little bit about the title, how you came up with that, and how you kind of assembled the group of musicians to make the sound on this album.
Okay, well, I felt like the vibes-voice combo is something pretty unique and really, really beautiful, that because of the pandemic and the fact that it was my first album, I felt like I didn't get enough of that from Dearly Beloved. Because we didn't get to really perform as much as we would have liked to, and So I feel, and I love Steve Nelson. He is just such a magical human to work with, and as a musician, he's so great. And I was just like, we should do this again. So initially, I knew that I wanted to work with Steve again, and I didn't mention before this album, the Where Flamingos Fly, is going to be released with La Reserve. So I had worked with through my first release with Cellar Live, but this time I'm like actually just releasing with La Reserve, which have been doing really awesome things for a lot of artists in the past 2 years. So that's really exciting as well. And I had approached them and said, listen, I'm going to do another project with Steve Nelson. And they're like, cool. And then I thought about how I wanted this album to sound. And because I had been doing so many drumless shows at my residency that I've been doing at Mezzrow and just in general in New York City, with the way that gigs pay, a lot of times I don't have like the fourth musician, which ends up being a drummer. So I've been like having the sound with like bass and piano for a while. And then Bruce Barth and Dave Barron are people that I work with a lot. We've done a lot of gigs at Mezzrow together, and I was like, this is going to be the most like wonderful, comfortable, intimate sound that I figured I could bring. And then that way we kind of found a way to do this kind of interesting instrumentation where there's the vibes maybe even got a bigger spotlight because there's like less instruments than the first one. So and it ended up forming, like with the rep that I chose, I felt like it brought a more vulnerable, like intimate sound that I felt I hadn't brought in my previous projects, if that makes sense.
It certainly does. And I think, there's a part of what we've all lived through, and there's a part of our mental state, and maybe a part of us are a little bit more vulnerable. How do you think maybe living through this pandemic and the ways that it changed all of us as humans and the way we think and interact, how much of that you think seeped in to your voice on this and the way that you approached it?
Oh, a lot of it did. I think I think with me, because I perform a lot, everything starts from performances. And that's how I work out my material. That's where I'm, if I'm like, I want to learn a new song, like I would do it for whatever gig I'm doing next. And so I think the way that it worked out, where there wasn't a lot of music happening for a while, and then all of a sudden there was a lot of music happening. I know that I approached the stage in maybe a little bit of a different way, where I am not afraid, or was not, and definitely not now, not afraid to we realize life is this thing that is very short and can end at any point. And I was just like, I don't care. I want to, if I want to cry right now or sing a really sad song, I want to do it. And I think the audience who had been craving music for so long, there's some kind of like a deeper level of connection, I feel like, since the pandemic with audiences and performers, where I don't know, I just feel like honesty and vulnerability is the most human thing in the world, and that's why I do it. Like if I can find this place of connection with the audience, where I am exposed, I don't know, I feel like that's why I do it. That's why I do what I do. And then I just wanted to bring it into a recording scenario, which is different because it's like there's no audience with you. So like, how do you bring that into the studio? Was my and that is why I chose the musicians that I chose, and the instrumentation, and even in the songs that I chose as well. They're all very personal, I think, personal stories that I connect to a lot.
So what's the Flamingo connection?
It's a song that Where Flamingos Fly is just a song that I learned from a recording of Helen Merrill. And it's I just loved it for so long. I thought it had a very beautiful, I don't know, I keep saying magical, but it's like a very magical, like mystical kind of song. Gil Evans wrote the arrangement for it. And it's just like, I've listened to it for years, and I've always been like, wow, I should sing this. But because nobody sings it, I kept forgetting to do it until I was like thinking about songs for this recording, and I was like, oh wait, this one is going to be so beautiful with vibes instead of like it's like a huge, it's like an orchestra arrangement. And I was like, what if we just like did it with the vibes and the piano and a little bit of bass, and it would just be our intimate version of this really beautiful song. And then it just came out so good that I was like, I have to call the album this way because it's so nice. And I don't know, there's something about flamingos. They're like they're pink, and that's a very optimistic, pretty like color. I feel like they're very classy animals, and they're beautiful, but the way that they seem very frail too. I don't know. So I think that image of a flamingo also felt right with this project that's like, I hope is beautiful and classy, but also like frail and not, there's no drums there to support to give the beat. Yeah, so I don't know, maybe something about the vulnerability is I see it within the flamingo as well. It's part of its beauty.
Yeah, it's emblematic for sure. So talk to me a little bit about the rollout of this album. I know you're doing it singles. When is everything coming out? Where's the best platform to get it? And maybe live shows that are going to come up now that the new year is really fully underway.
Oh, yes, I will tell you all of that. Okay. So the first song, I feel like I should pull it up, though. There's so much. There's so many dates to say. So my first single is going to be Oh You Crazy Moon. This one is going to come out really soon. It's in February 17th, which is in 2 weeks almost. And then so that's Oh You Crazy Moon. That comes out February 17th. The next tune that drops is in March 31st. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful waltz called Waltz for Debbie. This one actually has just vibes, bass, and voice on it, so I'm excited about that one. The Lamp is Low will come out in May 12th. That one has a cool little twist to it, especially the video. So I would watch out for that. You Do Something to Me comes out June 23rd. And then the album, full album, 12 songs, Where Flamingos Fly, will come out in July 28th. And then we do have some shows lined up at the moment. We're going to do the Django in March 20th, and Birdland in April 24th. And there's a lot of other stuff in the city leading up to that and after as well, which should be fun.
Absolutely.
I mean, the rest of what I didn't mention is that the 6 tunes are like a Dave on bass, Bruce on piano, and Steve on vibes, and then the other 6 are just me and bass and voice. Bass and piano. So just me and a trio.
That's perfect. What I've heard so far, I love it. I can't wait to get it on the show. Again, it's wonderful to catch up with you. We're kind of it's almost as though the interviews have kind of been a part of us getting through this pandemic, the beginning.
I know.
End. It's cool. So we're kind of seeing hopefully a lot of daylight fill in as the year moves on. So I was delighted to see this album. Good luck with it. Good luck with the whole unraveling of the year. And hopefully we'll catch up when there's even better times out there as the road winds down.
I know.
I really appreciate it.
Joe, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you as well. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and singers in Israel, New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Naama for her time, music, and energy. If you want to hear more interviews, visit Neon Jazz Interviews on either Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you can always find us at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
On a freighter that's leaving today.
Neon Jazz.